In this video, we're going to take a look at finding the inverse of a function. Now, when we say the inverse of a function, what we mean here is the reverse or the opposite of our function. So if I've got f of x here that's equal to 2x plus 5, then the inverse of this would simply be to subtract 5 and then divide by 2. Okay, we used to go backwards, we subtract 5, divide by 2. Okay, but what we want here is a more solid method of actually showing this. So the first thing I'm actually going to do here now is just replace f of x here with y. I get y equals 2x plus 5. And what I want to do next now is I want to rearrange this so that x is the subject. Okay, so make sure that you're confident with rearranging to make a letter the subject. So here we need to make x the subject. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 5 off both sides. So 2x is equal to y minus 5. Okay. And all I need to do now, if we want to make x a subject, is divide by 2. So therefore, x is equal to y minus 5 over 2. Okay. But what we actually want here is f inverse of x. So this notation in this f with a little minus 1, this is the inverse notation. Okay. So what we do now is replace x with f inverse of x. So f inverse of x, like so. And for this right-hand side here of y minus 5 over 2, any y's we replace now with x. So what I've got here is x minus 5 over 2. And there we have it. That's our inverse function. And like you can see, it's not really too complicated. It's just mainly remembering the first step to get going. So the first thing we do is replace f of x with a letter. It doesn't really matter what that letter is, but typically we just use y. And then we rearrange and make x the subject. Okay, once you've got x the subject, change it back to f inverse of x, replace any y's or any other letter that you picked to be x. Okay, so that's the solution to the first one. Let's take a look at this one now. So we've got g of x here is equal to x minus 3 divided by 4. And we want to find g inverse of x. So the first thing we do here is we write this as y equals x minus 3 over 4. And again, what we need to do now is make x the subject. So the first thing I'm going to do here is multiply both sides by 4. So we get 4y is equal to x minus 3. And therefore, if we want x as the subject here, then I need to add 3 to both sides. So x is equal to 4y plus 3. Okay, like so. But again, we're not quite done here. So I need to write this in inverse notation. So that's going to be, it's going to be g inverse this time. So just be careful. So g inverse of x. And in this case now, just replace any y's here with x. Okay, that's going to be 4x plus 3. Okay, somehow I struggle with that question too much, but there we go. We eventually got the solution. So g inverse of x is equal to 4x plus 3. So now there's 2 here for you to have a go at. So if you feel confident enough, pause the video now, have a quick go, and then we'll take a look in a moment at what you should have got. So hopefully you got an okay with these 2 practice questions. Let's take a look now at what you should have got. So we start here with this function g of x, which is equal to 4x minus 3. Now we want to find g inverse of x. So we want to find the inverse of the function g. So the first thing we do here is we write y equals 4x minus 3. Okay. What I'm going to do next now is rearrange so that x is the subject. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So 4x is equal to y plus 3. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So therefore, x is equal to y plus 3 all over 4. Okay. But remember, we want this in inverse notation here. So g inverse this time. So don't do the same mistake I did on the last one. So g inverse of x is equal. And now again, replace any y's with x. So x plus 3 over 4 there. Okay. And then moving on to the very last one here. So we've got f of x, which is equal to x squared plus 7. We now want to find the inverse, so f inverse of x. And again, we just follow the same method here. So y is equal to x squared plus 7. We now rearrange so that x is the subject. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 7 off both sides. So x squared is equal to y minus 7. And therefore, if we want x here, then we'd square root both sides. So x is equal to the square root of y minus 7. Now, just a quick point here. We only take the positive solution, okay? So we're only taking the positive solution here. So what we need to do now is write this in the correct form with the correct notation. So this is f inverse. It's going to be f inverse of x here. And now replace any y's with x. This is the square root of x minus 7 there, okay? And there we have it. So the square root of x minus 7 for f inverse of x. So there we go. So that brings us to the end of this video on finding the inverse of a function. In the next video, we're going to take a look at exam revision for functions.